With a sneak peek? Yes, good. Please join me at this time in welcoming our moderator from TV Guide, Will Keck.
You, but I'm craving a chocolate cupcake so bad right now. As soon as this is over, Marie Callender's, I'm making a... I was really excited about this one. I grew up, like most of us, loving Psycho and watching all the sequels. Even watched other Bates Motel show that was on briefly with Bud Cort, and none of them quite lived up to the original Hitchcock masterpiece. So I was excited about this, really excited, because I knew Carlton Cuse, and when I heard about the cast, I was even more excited. But until I saw it, I wasn't sure, and it's just been definitely on par with the original in a different way. It's a different tone, but you can feel it building toward what will happen. And one of the big reasons for that is the gentleman who's here with us today. He's only 21, believe it or not, but he's already won 2 Critics' Choice Awards for 2004's Finding Neverland. Yeah. And 2005's Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. And he's worked with, besides Vera, for me, he's worked with Johnny Depp, Dustin Hoffman, Kate Winslet, Helena Bonham Carter, and his name belongs right up with that group. So let's welcome Freddie Highmore. Freddie Highmore. Is it just me, or are we supposed to already see an evolution to Norman in the episodes that we viewed? Have you done 10 this season, or
10?
10, yeah. So are you already changing him a bit? Is he different from the Norman in the pilot?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, part of the joy of television is having a longer period. There's 10 episodes, and at least at the start, and then hopefully more. To really see that character development. There's no need to rush it or push things from the start because you have that luxury of time. And so I think it was important not to start off having Norman as the Norman that some people might have expected, the Norman that we see in Psycho many years down the line, to give him somewhere to go and more to see how he gets there. Yeah.
In your mind, Freddie, what were the first 18 years of his life like, or the first 15, 16 years of his life like?
I mean, the thing I like about Norman, and I guess Norman's and Norma's relationship, is you're not quite sure what conclusions to draw. You're not sure where the line lies between, is it slightly dodgy? Is it a bit too far? Or is it actually just very nice and she's just, protecting him?
Right.
And it's the lack of, the important stuff in Bates Motel is that stuff left unsaid, in the subtext and kind of hinted at. And I think that's a lot more intriguing for an audience, to make their own conclusions, and everyone perhaps having different conclusions as opposed to it being kind of, this is what you must think.
Well, when you started, I know some actors draw up a backstory in their mind, and there were a few hints that we got about the violence that he endured with his father and stepfather. But are you the kind of actor who draws a backstory, fills in the blanks that aren't there, or just really goes with what's presented to you by the writers?
I mean, in some ways it was working backwards with Norman Bates because you knew where he was going to be ending up. So yeah, it was almost a kind of reversal of that process. And there was obviously lots to draw on, not only the original material and that kind of iconic performance by Anthony Perkins, but Ed Gein and his kind of real life that inspired the book on which Psycho was then based.
Did you do a lot of research on Ed? Did you read things about Ed that go beyond Psycho?
Yeah, a few things. I remember speaking with Max, who plays Dylan, Norman's brother in the show, because Ed did have a brother himself, and so Max was thinking, oh, well, maybe this is where they kind of got the idea to introduce this other figure. So yeah, that was something that maybe even influenced the producers. I haven't asked them, but perhaps it is.
Have you had a chance? I know I asked you this when I first met you at the start of the season. Has anyone who knew Anthony Perkins, a family member or friend, approached you after having seen the episodes?
No, not at all.
If you were to meet Mr. Perkins, what would you want to ask him?
I don't know.
Anything?
Well, hopefully you kind of lived up to... he had such obviously an iconic take on Norman Bates. You know, I guess there was a certain, or an additional pressure in that sense from everyone working on Bates Motel to be entrusted with a story that's great and has been done, you know, fantastically in the past, and to try and make something new that will complement it.
You've played a part originally by another actor before you. There was, I don't know his name, but the boy who played Charlie in the original Charlie and effectively Wonka. What are the advantages and disadvantages of playing a part that's been played before in an iconic presentation?
I mean, with Charlie in the Chocolate Factory, I hadn't actually seen the original film before starting. I mean, it wasn't almost a choice. I just hadn't seen it. Obviously, if I had seen it earlier in my life, then I would have seen it. And with Bates Motel, it seemed slightly different. You know, it seemed an opportunity to in some ways make references to the original, but in a way that's kind of slight and understated as opposed to obvious. I think that's what, you know, there are a lot of things in Bates Motel that are drawn on from Psycho, but we never wanted it to be taking you out of the world that we were creating, and that was important. You know, so it's something there for fans, but not to the extent where they think, oh well, what world are we in? Yeah.
Well, you have computers, and it's clearly, you know, 2013, so it's clearly not leading to exactly where that spot is.
Yeah.
How many times have you seen Psycho? How many times have you watched it, do you think?
I think the first time I saw it, I was 14. And then I saw it a couple of times before doing Bates Motel. Yeah, a lot of people think 14s are young to see Psycho.
Not anymore.
But no, exactly. No, but people have been shocked. I'm not sure whether it's just like they think of us
There's
British
so much...
people as like sending these films down to kids at an early age. But the interesting thing about the original is it's based on that suspense or psychological thrill as opposed to explicitly being shocking.
Right. Had you done horror before? Is this your first time doing something in the horror realm?
Yeah, certainly a new character. Yeah, I've never played a killer before. I always wanted to play a killer though. Well, before I thought it would be a good idea just because people wouldn't suspect it was me. Whereas with Norman Bates, they kind of know it's you from the start, so that defeated that point. But I think it kind of works in hopefully you have hope for Norman. There's this weird sense of hope, despite the fact you know he's not gonna you know, break away from the future he must that path he must walk. Hopefully people think, oh, maybe he didn't have to go down that line. You know, maybe things could change.
Well, I feel like
maybe they will just change them. You know,
I feel he's good as long as the series is renewed. You know, until the final episode, then we have to worry about killing Mama.
But hopefully I won't die, and that's one of the things that's good about playing Norman in Bates Motel. Unless they completely changed everything and then just killed me off, or Dylan was suddenly Norman.
Yeah, I don't see that happening.
Big.
Well, I'm kind of curious how you got started. Can you tell me about your first role and how you got your SAG card and all that, the beginnings of Freddie Highmore?
I'm not sure when I got my SAG card.
Maybe not.
Well,
okay. You're working in America, you don't have to.
Oh no, I do have one.
Yeah.
No.
Oh, you don't know how you actually.
No, I don't know when. No, I'm not.
You can't get into the building without your SAG card, apparently.
No, I'm not I'm not like sneaking in. I don't actually have one. No, I just can't remember when I got it. I guess your first things in England you don't need one for.
You don't. Okay.
And because it's kind of American Union for actors. And then also I guess the first thing I would have needed it for, I would have been a kid. You know, it wasn't. Acting was always. And to some extent still is. It's never been my normality or the main focus of my life, which I think is nice. You know, to be able to combine it with school, and I've never kind of moved out to LA or I think it helps you stay kind of grounded.
I read in IMDb that you, at some point, and I know IMDb haunts you forever, even if you never said something, but it said that you, I guess as a child, were not intending to continue acting as an adult. Is that correct? Yeah,
lots of people say this to me. They're like, oh, why are you doing this? You quit. So I'm like, oh, sorry.
Is it true? Is that your intention?
No. No, I guess it's always funny when you're, you know, I mean, I'm still young, but doing interviews at sort of 12 and 13, and people are like, oh, you're going to be doing this forever. And I think it would be somewhat odd if, even now, I don't know what I'm going to be doing in, 30 years' time. And so to someone be there and saying, oh, are you going to be doing this forever? Oh, I don't know. You know, it's great at the moment, but who knows? And so I guess that moment to kind of decide comes when, I graduate from Cambridge next year. And that's a time when you have to yeah, I guess you have to state positively what you want. I mean, that's the other danger. You can't, I think when you go through school and you have that sense of your path kind of laid out for you, and you can make decisions, but it's not massive kind of life-changing decisions, because you know you're going to be at school next year. Whereas you get to the end and you're like, well, I've got to, you know, what am I going to do, and what is it that I want to do? Because I think it would be a shame to end up doing something that you just kind of fell into, or it being oh, I'll just see what happens. And then you think, oh, was this, you know, look back and think, oh, did I really want to do that?
Well,
and of course, by stating something, maybe you kind of set yourself up for failure.
Right.
You know, so if there's a girl that you like, and if you just sit back and don't do anything, you're probably, you know, not going to be with her. If you go and say, oh, I do like you, there's of course the chance you'll be like, well, I don't like you. But you haven't really lost anything. And but anyway, this is what
I'm curious about. Good luck with the girl. I hope you get her. But tell us more about Cambridge. Tell us about Cambridge. How are you juggling a series? And I think you've done a movie as well. How are you juggling all that with being a student at Cambridge?
So the first 2 years of the Cambridge course, I didn't kind of take any time out at all. Which was, I guess that was an example of an active decision, you know, to say, oh, this is what I want to do. This year, because I'm studying languages, I'm doing Arabic and Spanish. The third year in all language courses in Britain is abroad. And so to kind of complete the time required to get the kind of credits this year by being abroad, not that Vancouver counted, but that I did kind of 3 months beforehand, and then since January, since we wrapped, I've been in Madrid kind of for the Spanish. So. Wow. Going back there tomorrow to kind of get back to that. So in that way, it's been great to combine it, and Bates Motel has fitted in really well.
Did you ever question if you could actually do it? Because I think, you know, I'm thinking about like Jodie Foster and Brooke Shields, and they kind of disappeared from acting for a few years until they got their degrees. Was that something you considered, just kind of retiring for a while, or was it something that made you think maybe I can't do Bates Motel? Yeah,
I mean, it was certainly we kind of needed the guarantee that I would be able to both, you know, complete Cambridge and do Bates Motel if, you know, there are more seasons as has ended up happening. But yeah, it's worked out well. Brilliantly. Yeah.
You know, I was really impressed. So many things you've done this season, but there was a couple episodes ago we first got to hear you talking as mother, which was just so cool. I didn't expect it to happen so quickly.
Yeah.
I want to hear more about that in the script, and how many takes you did, and how you tried to. Did you try to talk like Vera at some point? Did you? I mean.
Yeah, I think the order we ended up shooting was that we did that scene before Vera's, because it sort of mimics a line that Vera says earlier in the episode, right. But we shot her a bit later. But certainly, I worked with Vera just on that moment, you know, to make sure that it obviously linked into the way that she was going to. So there are a few, I can't remember which words, but a few words that we kind of highlighted, and she made a little, we came up with a kind of little recording that we were both happy with to try and, so to make sure that it did fit together.
It's so cool. That's really the biggest clue we've gotten as to where he's going.
Yeah, it's nice seeing those kind of other sides to him open up and be as definitive as that. Yeah.
And we got the taxidermy.
The taxidermy.
I was really upset when that little dog died last week. That was really, really hard to watch.
But he's bringing him back to life, you know, through taxidermy. Yeah, taxidermy is fun, isn't it? Well, fun. But I use that adjective a lot to describe things on Bates Motel. I say things like, "Oh, it was a really fun scene," and people are like, "What do you mean it was fun?"
It's fascinating.
It was a horrible scene. But it's just enjoyable to do, you know. So in that way, it's fun.
Well, it was heartbreaking, you know, and I mean, I know people are mentioning you for awards, and I think that's one of the many scenes that you could submit. And I was curious. I mean, it's getting too personal. You don't care, but it rung true for me. I had that happen to me. I lost an animal right in front of my eyes. Anything like that you tapped into? You're kind of a method actor where you think about when you lost something, or just purely made up?
I mean, I did have 2 goldfish, Splish and Splosh.
Oh.
But it wasn't really. I don't know. It wasn't as big an event, you know. It was like, oh, Splish and Splosh have gone. It wasn't a kind of life-changing moment.
You didn't sew them up and try to get them floating in the water.
No. So I'm not sure that would have really worked well as a.
Probably not. No. talk about working with Vera.
Yeah.
You two have a really interesting relationship, and this, oh my gosh, just seeing you when she wanted to come sleep in the bed. I mean, again, we all are like, oh, where is this going?
But it could just be normal.
Yeah,
or maybe not. They're just, yeah.
What was it like filming that scene with her? I mean, were you laughing a lot? Did you stay in character?
I think the key thing to all of those scenes is that there's no kind of wink to the audience. It's just playing it straight and I mean, maybe there's also a slight humor in it. I think there is in Bates Motel in general, maybe not in that particular moment, but I think that comes best from a more deadpan as opposed to, thinking, oh, here we go, we're getting into bed. It's more like, oh, this is so normal for them that that's what's odd about it. Yeah, there's no need. You can kind of play against those things and throw away that, which Vera is really good at. Playing against emotions and also and that kind of humor side.
Is it based on kind of the director of the week, how much humor you have? Because a lot of these scenes can be played straight or played with a bit of a not wink, but a little bit more humor. Is it tonally? How does it change week to week, and how do you get into the humor with Norman? And if Vera's not here, but speaking in terms of how she does these kind of trips and things like that.
No, it's been an interesting process working with different directors because this is the first television thing I've done, and so I didn't quite understand before why you'd have lots of different directors coming in. But it's good in terms of keeping everyone on their toes and making sure you don't kind of slip into patterns and are constantly challenging yourself. But also I think there's an extra sense of responsibility to the actor in maintaining your character's arc and making sure that the producers aren't there every day on set and the director comes and goes, and making sure that it makes sense that Norma's journey, you can see it happening, and it's not that Norman one week is completely different from the next week and then he goes back.
Right.
And so in that way, that's more the actors an additional kind of role to be on top of that and to be leading in that way.
Well, I'm curious, some of the people you've worked with, I'd like to just name a few and hear what you learned from them as an actor. I mean, Depp is obviously somebody that I have to ask about. You worked with him twice. Talk about, as a young person, what you learned from his acting style.
I mean, I think it's hard. It's always been hard. I've never been good at like singling out events, or they never kind of. He never sat me down and said, "Oh, this is something you should do," as a tip in that way. But yeah, given that I've never kind of gone to acting school, I guess you just learn by watching and to some extent mimicking. In the same way that writers, will learn by doing a lot of reading, and then you think, oh, well, I can write in this way. I doubt that there's a writer who just never read a book, he's just like, oh, I'm going to start my own and do it, invent this whole thing. So, and also I think the main thing about Johnny in particular is just the way that he carries himself and behaves on a set. He is a star and he's a brilliant actor, but he doesn't think that means he's better than anyone else. He doesn't. He's just down to earth and normal, and would be the first to recognize that.
Based on his film choices, thinking about Scissorhands and Sleepy Hollow, I think he probably would love the show. Have you heard from him? If you've seen it, if he's watched?
No, I haven't heard.
Or Tim Burton, if you've not yet.
No.
What about Tim? Tell me about you've worked with him twice, or?
Oh yeah, just Charlie.
Just Charlie, just the once.
Yeah.
Give us I know you're not big with stories, but is there something about his style that has stayed with you, past that, something that he helped find in you as a young actor, that opened your eyes to something?
I mean, he's just got an incredible energy about him, I guess, and full of ideas. And I think that as an actor, you can learn from that because not only you get to a point where it's not only the directors who comes along with ideas, but they also want a certain amount of collaboration. They don't just want you to come along and read the lines and then go away. I think they think, oh well, you've done stuff before. Like, what's your take on the character? Do you making suggestions in that way and kind of actively participating?
You mentioned just a little bit ago that you never went to acting school, so I'm curious how you did first get into acting. Was it something that did you do student plays? Was your mom taking you out to auditions? How did it go?
Yeah, the first thing I did was, well, I did a couple of things on TV in England. Through friends, they say, "Oh, you're looking for a little kid of your age. Like, would you come along and just sit there and smile or something?" And then the first big thing I did was Finding Neverland.
Wow.
So, you go through sort of 5 or 6 rounds of auditions, and then they ended up choosing me, and the opportunity to be part of such a great film, kind of carries you onwards, and people thought I was right in that, so you get more chances to do other stuff. But Finding Neverland was the kind of first big thing that I did, and that started everything off. Yeah.
A lot of child actors we've seen have had a hard time transitioning into adult roles, and a lot of them have veered off, and maybe it's an American thing where they end up becoming more tabloid sensations than actual actors. Was it a difficult transition for you? I mean, do you feel you have transitioned, or do you still consider yourself kind of a kid, since Norman could be viewed as a not full adult yet?
I mean, age has never really kind of worried me about. I don't know. Yeah, people say, "Oh, he's this many years old, and you're this many years old." I don't know. I've never really focused. You just kind of go and do it. I don't kind of play young or. I guess as you get older, it's just kind of natural that you'll start doing older roles. But certainly living away, I guess, has kept my feet on the ground more. You're not tempted to be drawn into that. To be sidetracked in the way that you say that other people have. Are
you getting a lot of adult roles sent to you? I mean, what kind of scripts are you seeing sent to your agent?
It's funny, you do this, which is the first kind of serial killer thing, and then you can do serial killer and do
really?
That. But I've always been lucky in being able to play different characters and everything. I think it would get a little dull for me and everyone watching if it was just the same character again and again. So that's what I always look for, I guess. Something different that I haven't done before.
Well, can you give us just a little tease of next week's finale? Just a little hint of where it might be going?
You're already ahead of everyone else.
We are, yeah. But just,
well, I mean, obviously there's, this whole Abernathy thing to sort out one way or another.
He's so
there's some sort of showdown that's going to be
wonderful. Are you all familiar with that actor who plays Abernathy?
No, he's brilliant.
Yeah, he's good.
And then I think Norman, we'll see his relationship with his teacher, kind of being the focus of his. Or her perhaps being more the focus of his attentions as the finale develops.
Of an intimate nature, it seems like, perhaps, crossing the line?
Or perhaps, or maybe not. Maybe it's just, if that's your interpretation of it. I mean, she was just helping him out at school, wasn't she?
Yeah. So far. Well, let's get to some of the audience questions, and then we can come back and see where this takes us. Margaret Lorenz, she says you're doing a great job. We all know that. Well, this is one we've already talked about how you managed it. Yeah, sure, absolutely. Sorry you can hear. This is about studying while pursuing acting, so we talked about that. Okay, this is from Paris Quinn. Considering that you are, you want to ask your question? Okay.
Since you're English, have you noticed a difference between the English style of acting and the American style?
So she was asking about, if you didn't hear in the back, considering that you're English, talk about the difference between the British and American styles of acting.
Maybe, I'm not sure. What do you think? Do you think, I mean, maybe British people have a tendency, I mean, in general, to be slightly more, maybe it's slightly sort of stereotypical, but more reserved or more internal, perhaps. And maybe that sort of carries into the style of acting.
Well, there are a lot of British actors that are on television now, especially cable shows.
Yeah, sorry, we're all sort of coming in. And
apologize to them. Who are some of your English friends who are working in American series now?
I don't have a lot of friends who are actors, I guess. I mean, yeah, when you think like, oh, who my best friends are. I mean, I get on. Vera's probably my new best friend now, but yeah, I guess they're just people back at university and at college.
So you're not hanging
But
out
no,
with Jude Law or...
no, I don't think I've ever met him. No, but yeah, I mean, of course, I get on with people that I work with at the same time, and we do keep in touch. Yeah,
Well, yeah,
but it's hard to keep in touch with everyone. That's the nice thing about television. You got the chance to go back and work with everyone again, because it does become, you're working long hours every single day with this intimate group of people, and it's sad when just one day, it's completely over, and you think, oh, I won't see you all again, and certainly not in this way, but yeah, hopefully we will back in July. Yeah.
Got a second season. We're happy about that. Second season.
Yeah.
What is it like in Vancouver on the weekends with the actors who play Emma and Bradley? What do you guys do on the weekends? Do you hang out? Do you?
Yeah, she's British as well. Olivia Cook, who plays
Emma?
Yeah.
Okay.
So there's another British actor's friend. Yeah, I guess it's always quite all-consuming being there. I'm not sure that I'm always kind of, well, I know I'm not, heading out at the weekends and partying into the early hours. Just because you kind of, you finish your week and you think, oh, I've got to prepare for next week and try and get some essays done for Cambridge and kind of keep everything going. Wow. So in that way, there's not too much time to be distracted in that way.
Difference between working in, have you worked in LA?
But it's a nice city. No, I've never worked in LA. No.
Wow.
No, not for an extended period of time.
Well, Tracy Martin wants to know if you screen tested with Vera.
No.
You didn't?
No, I was in Kuwait actually doing for the Arabic, because I'd already started my year abroad by the time, and then I had a Skype session with both Carlton and Kerry, the kind of producers, to talk about it, and then it ended up happening. But yeah, I was there doing Arabic. People always like, oh, why Arabic? Think in England they think you're going to be a spy. They're like, oh yeah, this is, and supposedly, MI5 come round in last year and say, oh, have you thought about this? Or maybe I already am a spy. It'd be good, wouldn't it? This is all. This is all just a ruse.
Interesting. What was the movie?
This is all just an act.
Chuck Barris, where he was really a spy. Tracy also wants to know, what is your biggest advice for teen and child actors? I
think it's not really advice, but it's certainly something to recognize that you've got to get lucky. And I think perhaps it's trickier for, I don't know, I've always, I guess I have been lucky, but I've also been separated from it in that, not getting a role was not you kind of realize that it's not because of you, or it's not a kind of personal thing. It can just be, oh, you don't fit in with these other people that we already have. But in terms of needing luck, I would always just say keep your options open and don't decide too soon if that's what you want to do. I think if you're 10 years old and you think this is what I'm going to do forever, I don't know, maybe that's too young to be encouraging someone just to go down one path. Maybe that's just speaking from my own experience that's kind of worked out okay, and so I think, oh, that's a nice way to do it, but I think that's a more healthy way as well.
Did your parents always say, if you hate this, Freddie, let us know. If you're not digging this, we'll pull you out? What was your experience?
No, it was never. It was always, in some ways, not a hobby in that you don't take it seriously and professionally, but never something I needed to do. It was, oh well, if you want, this is great fun. You seem to enjoy doing it. We got the chance to do something else and go and do that, but not out of necessity in any way. Yeah. You're a kid.
Right. Well, Tracy also is asking, can you talk about your training generally? Where's Tracy? Thank you for your questions, Tracy. Training generally as well as specifically for this role. From your accent, is doing an American accent still a challenge for you, or not anymore? Do you have it down by now?
I think I guess you get to a stage where you kind of you can do an American accent, but I think it's dangerous just to say that there is, an American accent. You just find that voice, and that voice will kind of fit all of the characters that you would play. So it was more, you start from that base and then think, oh, well, but what way would Norman speak, or find different cadence or something that may then take it away from that American accent you started with, but it still fits the character better, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and how did you find the Norman accent? I mean, was there any influence at all from Perkins?
Maybe subliminally, I don't know.
Did you work with the dialect coach to find the voice?
Yeah, I worked a little bit with the dialect coach, just to make sure that everything kind of sounded all right, yeah. But no, it's more, no, I guess the American accent is all right now. Though I do find myself trying to, because I speak in the American accent as much as possible on set and off set.
Oh, you do? Okay.
Yeah, so it just comes natural and kind of second nature. But I find myself using British expressions to kind of reassert my Britishness.
Such as?
Because otherwise you feel that you're losing. Well, so it's really sad sometimes. I just like point things out that I know have a different word in English, just so people are like, oh, he's actually English. Like, oh, there's a lorry going past. They're like, oh, that's cute. Cute being another. I mean,
we say cute a lot, don't we?
I was having this discussion with a few other people the other day, and I'm never sure if cute is a compliment, or if it can be a compliment, or if it's slightly patronizing. If to use the example again of a girl that you like, for example, if she says, "Oh, you're really cute," is that good or is that bad? Because is it like, "Oh, you want to spend more time with me in the evening," or is it, "No, you're nice, but..."
Who wants to answer this question? Seriously. It could be flirty.
But I think there's also a way of it being slightly, "Oh, you're cute," you know.
Well, it could be like,
"Oh,
Norman's cute and his brother's kind of badass and
it's like,
dangerous.
"Oh, that's really cute," you know. It's like, oh. Anyway, I'm not sure how to react to that one.
Well,
Cute.
I think you're very cute, and you should keep on being cute, and I think they should be a fool not to go out with you. Edward Joyce wants to know, did you have concerns about taking an iconic, well, we talked about this, you thought about the series being 20? Yeah, okay, so the fact that you're reinventing the Bates world, the Psycho world in 2013, this is obviously began with a script, more than the actor, but talk about how you've all, as a team, adapted a 1960 world for 2013.
I guess it gives you a certain amount of freedom to reimagine it, and by bringing it into modern time. It's not saying this is definitely going to be following the history of Psycho, which I guess people maybe annoyed a few people at the start. They're like, "Oh, this can't be a prequel. It's not set back then." But yeah, I guess it does give you that freedom, and at the same time, I think it's interesting the way the house in Bates Motel has a kind of timeless quality to it, and their relationship of Norman almost is outside of the real world that's going on around them.
Seems like some of the wardrobe choices. We haven't seen a black turtleneck.
Well, they're cute, There's a cute sweater you're wearing, Norman.
It looks like a little German child or something almost. I mean, what do you think of Norman's sweaters and the look that he chooses to wear to school? It's not exactly going to make him anything but cute.
Yeah, I mean, I guess always, you work with the kind of costume people for it, and to come up with something that fits the character, yeah. You think he wears too many sweaters?
Do you have some input? Do you say, "Oh man, I can't"?
I guess it's more led from, they're the people with more kind of experience at it and a much better eye than I would have of saying, "Oh, this is how we're going to have the character look." But of course, you express your opinion on their ideas and then kind of come up with a happy medium, yeah.
Well, Larry wants to know if you ever wrote your own screenplay.
No.
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 Do you want to get into directing or writing or other aspects of the business?
Yeah, I'd love to. Yeah, at some point in the future. But I've never, just up to now, I haven't.
Well, Aria thinks you're cute because she put a little heart next to your name. Where's Aria? Hi, Aria. Okay, well, we've kind of gotten into this too, but at this point now, can you see, you have talked about this, but acting for the rest of your life, what are some roles you want to do? Do you have a kind of a wish list, a bucket list? Shakespeare, are some things that you...
I've never done theatre. I guess that would be something, again, completely different to do. And as for characters, yeah, I guess as we were saying, just things that are different and going to challenge you in new ways.
Is there someone's career that you, who are some of your role models besides you mentioned, Johnny, we talked about Johnny. Who are some of the people?
So I can't mention, I can't
You
say
can't mention even people,
someone and someone.
And no Anthony Perkins and no Johnny Depp. Who are some other people out there that you emulate and want to, you would love to have some of their films?
I mean, I think Johnny is a good example in that he's always, comes up with different characters and does new material, and is not afraid of making kind of bold choices and having something that he believes in and going for it. I don't think you can fault him in that way.
I love everything he does. What do you have, like a horror story, an acting audition horror story when you went in and you just felt, oh man, I just blew that?
No, I guess I've always prepared quite well. Quite being used in the English sense of not like very,
right?
Being more like all right, well. Yeah, I think quite well is more like, oh, I always prepare very, very well. But quite well in England is more like, yeah, I do as much. It's less.
Well, I guess it is
a more
obviously
humble way of saying things.
It's a nerve-wracking thing. Is there something you do before or an audition to get yourself centered? What are some of your tricks that you can share with us?
I guess it's preparation. Some people seem to they go into an audition and they haven't learnt the lines. They're sort of reading them off a paper, and there's a lot of basic things that you can do that already get you to a stage where people will start to notice you more, or at least so many people go up, so many people want to do acting that any sort of excuse or any easy way of saying, oh, this person hasn't prepared as well, or they were kind of reading the lines. So it's just a lot easier to move on to other people and focus on the people who are better prepared and who seem to want it more.
Freddie, what would you say is your favorite Bates Motel scene that you've shot so far, or something we've seen?
Yeah, I was going to say the penultimate scene at the end is great. The last scene is also like a great in the last episode. In
the last episode, okay.
But the penultimate one is really fun. The scene in the boat in the pilot was also great, and that was the end of our first week of shooting.
When you and Norma were disposing of the body.
Yeah, and I think that kind of encompassed everything that both Vera and I kind of loved about Bates Motel. The relationship between the two of us. And then also this dark humor of like the body being there in the middle as they had this intimate conversation. And it was the first real, I guess, bigger scene that I did with her. So that was great.
When I first heard about the concept, I was actually talking to Carlton Hughes, your executive producer, the creator. If it was going to be the kind of situation where there would be people checking in each week to the hotel and they'd be dying, and it's not quite that, but there has been a very heavy body count in the 9 episodes we've seen. Is it a challenge to play normal people when there are so many deaths? I mean, it's almost like, Murder, She Wrote, that little town where every week somebody would die and Jessica Fletcher would have to, I don't know if you knew the show. But
No, I haven't.
Yeah,
but I'm going to nod along as if I did.
But is it, how do you keep it within the realm of reality when so many bizarre things are happening week to week?
I mean, I guess you just have to believe, you have to believe yourself that what you're doing is, can really happen and has a base in reality. I mean, if you don't believe it, then no one else really is. And that's what we were saying earlier about playing things straight and being, playing it as believably as possible and have that as a base to work with. But no, it's nice the way that the storylines have developed, and they're not, as you say, kind of one person in, one person out of the motel every week. It's a more gradual building in of plots that run deeper.
I guess the last question that I have, and I'll ask if any of you have any burning questions left, is since you know a little bit we know what is happening with Norman Bates, are there some areas in his psyche, are there some actual scenes that you're hoping will make it onto the page in season 2 or 3? Some areas that you want to explore with Norman that we haven't seen in season 1?
The taxidermy was something, we had the first 6 scripts before we started shooting, but the taxidermy kind of came in a little later. So I was pleased when I saw that, because that was yeah, that's just great.
What
It's
about?
fun.
I mean, what about dressing up like Mother, putting on Mother's clothing, or
I mean,
a
that's
peephole in the
yeah, that's certainly something for down the line. I think it was important not to do. It's so tempting, of course, to think right at the start. Oh, you know, the first episode. You know, you could just see him like putting on a bit of his mother's clothes, or you know, she changes in front of him, then he just goes and secretly does the same. But it would be giving. Yeah, it would kind of ruin it, or it would be moving too quickly. And so it's nice to keep that there, and then see if that ends up happening a few years down the line, but not. There's no need to rush it. Yeah.
We haven't seen the fruit cellar yet either. We haven't seen the basement.
No.
Well, does anyone else have any really burning questions they want to ask Freddie before we? Yes. Yeah.
Hiya.
Quick question. Oh no, just all right. Just a quick question. I grew up with the whole psycho thing, growing up in the 70s and 80s. Do you feel you've done Alfred Hitchcock a justice with this?
Well, I mean, I guess that was always the aim. It's hard to judge whether you've. I guess the thing you can always say, and this comes in with kind of preparation in general, is you know, we did our best, and so in that way, it's like, yeah, people seem to have liked the show, and we get to do some more of it. But even if we hadn't, there wouldn't have been regrets in that way, because you make choices that you think are good, and as long as you're not kind of there messing around or not taking it seriously, you know, you can just look back and say, well, that was the best I could do. There we go, and be happy and proud of that.
Well, I love the music and the locations in Vancouver. There's so many shows shooting there now. Have you run into other crews? Like, have you run into the Once Upon a Time people in the forest, or?
Yeah, sort of cross paths. Like, oh, what are you doing here? No, yeah, they'll sort of move into the Bates Motel. No, I haven't bumped into anyone else, actually. We shoot quite a way out. The motel is in a place called Aldergrove, which is about an hour from kind of downtown Vancouver. Right on the border with, we can see America from...
You can see,
yeah, we
it's
can
like Sarah Palin. So we'll take like maybe two more questions if anyone wants to, please.
How you doing? My name is Nasty Ness, and Nasty Ness.
All right. Why nasty?
That's my DJ name for a long time. I'm really a nice guy, so you can call me Nice Ness. But anyway, you know, the three scenes that really stand out, because you seem like a really nice, cute guy, like Timmy Lassie. You know, like Timmy Lassie, like a real nice guy. But then when you saw your mom getting raped, when you saw your dad dead, when you saw the girl that you fell in love with, she tells you right out she doesn't feel the same way about you. All of a sudden, you turn into like a psycho character. What goes on in your head? How do you get into that character as an actor? What do you think of to get that way? Because it's like night and day, and you do such a great job in that as that character.
Thank you. I don't know. It's hard to.
Begin with the rape.
Yeah,
I mean that was a really heavy scene that they gave you very early on to watch. You know, I mean, to come into that after Vera had been.
Yeah, I mean, I think Vera did a brilliant job. I think a lot of it is working with great actors, to be honest, and there's not. If everyone else is there in character, it's so much easier for you to be there too, and there's no need to kind of force things or to unnaturally try and represent something, just because you look at Vera and there she's there as your mum and you think, well, I'm here as Norma. I don't know, it's but it also it comes from you plan in advance the way that you want the scene to go, and you bring ideas to the table as opposed to just showing up and thinking, oh well, Norman, I wonder how he's going to react to this. You kind of have ideas beforehand and you try them out.
Yeah, why don't we end with, if you had to submit, maybe you have, submit one scene for your reel. Again, you have so many choices. What comes to mind as maybe some of the proudest work that you've done this on Bates?
I really don't know.
No?
No, I don't know. No, I guess happy with everything. No, I'm not sure what yeah, what I'd
Well, in
submit.
each
I don't know.
episode
I've
you do
never
something
kind of
different and surprising.
I've never
so,
kind
I
of
mean,
sat down and decided, oh, this is what we're going to do.
You have many,
No,
many choices.
Or what you'd change. Something I would change about Bates Motel. I think it's going to be worse this summer. As you can see, it's built on this hill, and the hill is actually there in Aldergrove, but that's a rubbish tip. And so in the summer, it's going to be really stink.
Oh, really? Oh, it's
Really smelly. So it would be great if they hadn't chosen a rubbish tip, really, to build it on. But they did. The good thing in the winter when we shot was that it was rain, so it was, you didn't really usually have a couple of days without it. And so that would wash away the smell. But I'm told in the summer it's going to be quite bad.
Well, that probably fits, though, getting in character, the smell of corpses and
Yeah,
dead
perhaps.
dogs and
the whole
dried
place
blood.
stinks, really. Yeah.
Well, you're doing great work, man. We're so glad you got a second season, and congratulations on this, and good luck
Thanks
with the
very
award
much.
season. Thank
Cheers.
you for coming out. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Highmore? What picture is that?